to Similarly Different. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Similarly Different. I can't believe I got to this point. You guys have asked for it. You guys have commented. You guys have DM'd me. And my entire spirit self, creator, host, anybody online knows that I have wanted this person since my first episode. I have said this to Courtney. I have said this to everybody on the team, and we made it happen. I have the one, the only, Desi Perkins here.
Hey, girl, it was so easy to get me on. She's like, do you want to come on my podcast? I was like, yeah, I'd love to.
And she was like, I love to yap. And I was like, I screenshot it. I was on the way to Santa Barbara. I screenshot it and I was like, I finally asked her. And Courtney was like, what do you mean? And I said, she said yes. It was so funny.
Yeah, girl, I was like excited. Yeah, I love to yap.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here. Now, Similarly Different, we just talk about human conversations. And I feel like everybody knows your life to a certain degree because you've put it online.
Right.
And you've been able to be such a pioneer to so many people, as well as inspired women in so many different walks of life. But I just wanted to have you on here and have a little chat. So
Yeah, I love that.
I have my first question for you.
Okay, what is it?
So many people call you the pioneer of the beauty space, the creator space, and all of that, going from creator to founder. What do you really think set you apart to have that be able to be something that you're known for now?
Well, first of all, I wasn't really trying to pioneer. I was just trying to survive. At the time, I kind of started this whole journey. I was super broke, and I thought that makeup artistry was something I was really passionate about because I loved art. Kind of all stemmed from my artist background. And I really just started this whole journey to get more freelance work. Like Steven told me to download Instagram, so I was like, okay. And I started posting my work there, and it snowballed into something that I could have never imagined, right? Like now I've been here 13 years. That's a lot of years. And it's been such an interesting ride because at the time, back in my day, at the time there was no like blueprint. There was nothing to help me navigate how to work with brands, how to get paid for working with brands. At the time, nobody was getting paid. It was just like,
You just got your
vibes.
stamp of approval was getting reposted.
we were literally just going off of vibes. Like, yeah, it's such a different climate now because back then a repost was so much value, and now it's like, no, you need to pay me for that repost, right? Whereas like we weren't making like any money off of it at the time. For me, it was truly built off of passion and something that I truly loved to do, and everything else after that was kind of just a bonus. So yeah, it was a really
crazy time.
hard time to figure out everything, but also so fun because it was so pure. You know, I don't think we'll ever reach a time where it will be like that again. Yeah. It was the first time that I was ever developing like parasocial relationships with people outside of my personal life. And it's kind of a crazy thing to think now that everyone is going to encounter or have a parasocial relationship with somebody else, even from a young age.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the first time that started happening.
Do you remember the first time you got a big brand deal, and what did you do with the money?
So for me, it was a little different. I remember the first brand that reached out to me for free product, which was Motives Cosmetics.
Okay.
They were also the first brand to take anyone on an influencer event at the time. Like it was in Miami on a yacht. It was amazing. But they wanted to send me free product, and I was screaming. I remember Steven came home from work, and I was like, they want to send me free product. This is so cool. And it was the most exciting thing ever. And so that was kind of the first big memory. And then as far as getting paid, to be honest, I had a little bit of a different journey because I started... my first big approach was Ipsy, and I think I had about 10,000 subscribers on YouTube at that time, and I think 10, maybe it was more. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember numbers very well, but they had reached out to me to be an Ipsy creator, and that was kind of the first big job, and they offered me like a certain salary per month to do that.
I actually heard about this recently, and I didn't know that when they had the Ipsy creator group, which was like you, Roxette, and all these people in the beginning.
It was like Crispy, Kristen, Dominique, Katie.
That they really helped you guys also just like zoom on the back end of YouTube and push you and then put you in front of brands and all that thing, which I don't think exists really now with Ipsy.
No, I don't think that. I think that the format wasn't really built for creators in the best way, but I do think it did, again, help me like work with different brands.
Yeah.
And although I wasn't making money off of all those videos, as far as like I could be doing 7 videos with brands, but I would still be making the same amount of money per month. So that was kind of like my first paid thing with YouTube. And then my first big deal after that was I actually had an exclusivity clause with them. I wasn't allowed to do any outside beauty deals ever. So that was what made it really difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So I could never make money outside of their set salary when I was with them. And then
So you were an employee at that point?
I was an employee, basically, like with a non-compete. And so the first big deal I got after that was actually Key Australia, which was with sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I was able to do that deal because it was eyewear and not beauty. Oh. And so that was my very first huge project where I actually was able to sell something and see the power that I had selling. Because up until that point, I had not sold anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't like selling to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's also really cool to see that you said that Motive Cosmetics made you so excited when you sent free products, when they sent you free products, because now looking at how the world goes 360, you literally make people cry when they know they get added to the PR list of Desi Skin or Desi the Eyewear. Like, life really does come full circle. And like, I think that sometimes being in the thick of it, we forget, you know, whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's a founder for a beauty brand, a founder for a skincare brand, a fashion line or whatever. And it's to like see your product in person, see it out in the wild, but also see the impact that you have on people, just like other brands had on you. It's just like beautiful.
It is very full circle, and it is so interesting being on the other side of things, because I totally know how things work, and I can empathize with both sides and just kind of put my shoes in both sides now. Yeah, it's very full circle, and honestly, seeing it in the wild is crazy. Anytime I see my product in the wild, I'm like, and it's even better when I see it in the wild. I'll always walk up to someone wearing my glasses and be like, oh my God, I love your glasses. And they won't even know that I'm the founder. And I think that's, to me, success, because I went into, like, was it last year or the year before that? I said, this is the year that I want to make my brand bigger than me. Like, I want it to grow outside of me. I want people to not have to associate it with me, but it's nice when they do, because that's my baby. Yeah. But also, I do want it to grow bigger than me as a person.
I mean, that's what makes its value be able to be long lasting.
I was actually sitting at this event, and there was this really young girl there, and she was like, what do you guys all do? And asking us. And she asked me what I do, and I was like, oh, I own 2 brands. I just kept it very general. Yeah. And then my friend sitting next to me was like, oh, she's being humble. She owns Desi Eyewear and Desi Skin. And the girl started freaking out. She was like, you own Desi Eyewear? Oh my God, I'm obsessed. She was so young. And she was like, I love them. I follow them. And that to me was like my pinnacle moment of success, that she had no idea, because that was my goal that I set out to last year. Yeah. And it was just such a nice like feeling.
That's beautiful. How have you been able to continuously remove the title that people want to put on you and just reinvent yourself? Because, you know, a lot of people could have been like, I think you and a handful of other people were a part of you're not just a creator, you can be a founder, and you can be a successful founder at that. Somebody that doesn't do it in a cheesy way or in a cheap way, but really takes intention into the product, into the finale of it. And I'm sure now, listen, I could see you do a furniture line for all I know in the future. Who knows? I mean, if you see her house on her in her Instagram, she has the moment and she has the vibes for it. So
I do love a good design of anything. The thing is that I got this tattoo a long time ago. It says create, because I said, no matter what I'm doing in life, as long as I'm creating, I'm happy. So for me, I've always been someone who has never wanted to stay in one niche since I was little. And the reason I got this tattoo is because my mom said to me one day, she was like, Mija, I understand you love to do all of these things. You love to sing, you love to draw, you love to play soccer, you love to do all these things. But in life, she goes, you need to really just focus on one thing and just go for it. And that's when you'll find success. And I remember telling her, Mom, listen, as long as I'm creating, I'll be happy. That's when I know that I have been successful in my life, that I get to create every day. So whatever it is that I'm doing, as long as I'm doing that, I'm so happy. Yeah. And as far as labels go, It's like, I'm not just a mom, I'm not just a founder, I'm not just an influencer. I'm all of these things. And it's a beautiful thing because I feel like it has helped me juggle and navigate things in a way that maybe someone else can't. Like, I'm good at holding and wearing a lot of hats.
I feel as women, a lot of times people forget that we're multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
And have you ever felt like you needed to fight to be able to remind people that you're able to be this title or that title and continue evolving?
I think that as women, not just me and personally, but I think all of us collectively are trying to fight that, because especially when you become a mother, I've never noticed a shift more than so when becoming a mother, because people expect you to dress a certain way. They expect you to act a certain way. They expect you to be this, like, some people think you can't be sexy anymore, you can't be hot anymore, you can't be all these things. And that's a societal thing that I think we're always trying to fight. And honestly, I just don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care.
I love that.
I'm like, I can be so confusing to a lot of people because I'm either glam or I'm in Stitch pajamas with my kids. Like, I don't really have an in between. And I don't know if a lot of people know that because they either see me glam, full glam, or just like at home.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest change I've had in my day-to-day life now is that I don't care about getting ready in that glam way anymore, and I just don't have the time to. So it's like when I have events and things like that, I get glam. But my day-to-day life is very humbling for me.
I think also though with social media and like the way it's moved, it's allowed people to just show the fact that, at least for me, I just don't feel the need to put up a facade. I don't wear
neither.
makeup every day. I'm tired.
I don't care.
I really don't care. I'm like, you're either gonna like me like this or you don't. And if you don't, at least you know now that this is how I am.
Right.
So like,
And I think it's nice too because I go out looking crazy all the time. Like, I'm
Same.
talking crazy, like not just cute crazy. Like, I'll be wearing, and I just don't care. And I think what's given me that freedom is that I show up like that online too, especially on my Instagram stories. I'm always, this is just the way that I am. And I think when people see me in person, they're not shocked by it. And it's like, it's nice
Yeah.
for me because I feel comfortable. And so,
you've normalized all your versions. To
yeah, all my versions are out there. And it's like, I'm like, today I'm Adam Sandler and I live for it. So
Now with motherhood, you decided to share your infertility and the whole process of that. What made you realize, okay, this is a really vulnerable moment, but I think I need to share it with the world?
You know what's interesting about that series is that I have always been someone who documented their life, even before social media. I would, high school, like even when I was a kid, like we were very big on documenting our lives. Like my stepdad used to film everything, and I think that's kind of where I like had interest in that. So I was always filming these moments, and it wasn't ever for the world to see. It was always just for me, because part of me, when going through the infertility, not that I didn't feel like I could talk to my husband about it, but I didn't want to talk to him about it because in my heart, I felt like I was disappointing him. And it's like, I know that's not the truth, but like, I didn't want to talk to him about the feelings like, oh, I think I might be pregnant. I've been feeling this, this, and that. Because after a while and after so many negatives, it's just like, I almost felt like it was just better just to disappoint myself because I didn't want to add anyone else. And so I would, it's still emotional talking about it, which is crazy after all these years. But I would record so that I could have an outlet, so that I could, it was like a journal for me. And it's always been that way. And so I recorded all these moments, and I got so lonely in this battle by myself. I felt like I isolated everyone around me in this topic, that I just started putting it out into the world. Like I decided to do that because I realized how many other people were also struggling in silence. It wasn't until I was going through it that I would talk to close people like my mom, and they would say, oh, well, you know that like I had a miscarriage and this. And I was like, no, I didn't. I didn't know that this happened to you. And the more I talked about it, the more people came forward and shared their stories, and it made me feel so much less alone, and it made it feel so much more normal. And it was so therapeutic for me. I had no idea what an impact it would have on other people. It was truly like my diary. And even though it was super vulnerable, I my soul needed it. So I just put it out there. And that is actually one of the main things that people approach me about still to this day. Like anything I've ever done in my career, I still think that's the most impactful thing I've ever done, the best piece of content I've ever created. And it's the most people talk to me about.
I think it's because people are able to just see the human side of you for the first time. And not only the human side, but the human feminine side, the human wife side. They were able to see how comforting he was, but also how this was a unit and how individually each of you guys were going through it. And at least what I saw was like the grace that he was trying to give you through it, while knowing that he doesn't fully understand,
right?
You know,
right?
I think a lot of the times that's taken away from the woman in the sense of like, okay, yes, it sucks, but like, you know, let's move forward.
Right.
Where you had a moment to be able to feel.
And it started as like a diary, like I said in the beginning, but then as I was going through the process, it was also so overwhelming, all the different options, all the different procedures. And because the way I decided to do it at the time was start with the least invasive to the most, because not only was it the beginning the least invasive and the most cost effective, but you know, I wanted to share that process because anyone else going through this, it's so overwhelming. There's so much information. There's so much that happens to your body. Everything that you take has this like huge impact on your hormones. I remember taking Clomid and I became so depressed, and I never had depression in my life until that moment. And I knew that wasn't the right path for me, so I moved on to the next one. But I think sharing all those things is really helpful for anyone else who's going through it, and you know, they want to know the options. Maybe they don't have the insurance to be like going to all these doctor's appointments to find all this stuff out. So it's nice to just kind of see someone else go through every single avenue to get to starting a family.
That was beautiful. I love that you were able to share that, and it's still one of my favorite series to watch. Even though I haven't been through it, it's something that I've always wondered if I have an issue. So I'm like, oh, I feel like every question and answer will be in that series. Now, what was the pivotal moment that made you decide to go from a creator to a founder?
Well,
are we getting spicy? Because I have a feeling this is one part we might get a little spicy.
Well, I was working with a brand and I was designing and I really loved it. I found that I was really passionate about designing eyewear. And I had a great team working with this brand, and then they had gotten bought out. And up until that point, this collaboration was only supposed to be 3 months. It ended up being years.
Yeah.
And I remember my first contract with them was really just like one little paragraph, you know, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't like have attorneys or anything like that. And I helped grow this brand, and you know, it was like I treated it like it was my own because it was something I was super passionate about and I loved it. I had so much fun, and through that I'll never not be grateful for the fact that I found something that I was really passionate about. But then when they got bought out, I realized I needed to kind of renegotiate my contract because at this point, you know, it needed to be renegotiated.
Yeah, it had grown so massive.
Yeah, it was huge, and to the point where like people thought I owned the brand. That's how hard I pushed for it because I was so passionate about this collaboration. I loved it so much. And I was in a boardroom with this new person, this guy who like I had no relationship with, you know, I just know that he was part of this buyout. And we really made this presentation talking about why we needed to renegotiate the contract. And in front of everyone in the boardroom, he looked at me and said, "Now, that's a lot of money for a little girl." It was in that moment that I decided to get up and walk away from something that I had worked so hard towards, but I knew that I couldn't possibly work for somebody who saw me in that way and spoke to me in that way and just belittled me in that way. And it was a huge moment. I remember walking out of that boardroom and I looked at Steven and I said, I can't continue here and I need to walk away from this. We can do this. Let's start our own thing. Yeah. And it was such a scary thing because at that point, that was like my most steady income. Like I was like, it was just a really hard thing to walk away from. And But I knew I wanted to do it forever. And, you know, if I wanted to do it forever, I should be doing it for myself, regardless of what was said to me in that meeting, regardless of how it was treated. This is something I want to do forever. And so I'm so happy that that happened. And that's why I always say, like, these moments that you think are losses or that you think are bad are always great. And I'm thankful for that moment because I walked away and I created Desi Eyewear.
Did you cry out of anger at all?
I did. I cried because I was so frustrated and I was actually so shocked in that moment. And I remember walking out and crying because I knew that that was the end. And it was a really sad thing for me. And I knew that I had to start all over again. And I was really scared because it's scary to do something from scratch when I have no business experience other than what I've learned thus far, you know?
I love that. Now that you said creator to founder and you experienced that, what would you say are 3 mistakes that you did as a creator that you would hope that a creator now, whether they're solidified a little bit or starting off and you never know, it could skyrocket the next day, you don't want them to make?
Okay, this is easy because I've made a lot of mistakes. So number 1, this is so cliche, but it's so easy to be influenced by what other people are doing. Even till this day, as a creator, sometimes I'm influenced and I just remind myself, like, oh, well, this is what people want to see now, or this is how everyone's doing everything now. But the thing about that is that everything comes full circle, everything comes in trends. So if you're constantly changing yourself based on what other people want to see, based on how other people are digesting content, based on what's performing well for other people, it's really gonna confuse you and not like build you up as the creator that you should be. In the beginning, when I started, everything was perfection. Like there was no blurps or like personality in the beginning. It was just like, today we're gonna do a smoky eye, and it was just perfect. And I thought that that's what I needed to be, and so I tried to be that, and I realized that I was boring as fuck, and it's like, this is terrible. So the minute I started showing my own personality and being myself and kind of going against what people were telling me was the right thing to do is the moment I felt like I was finally living my truth and being who I am. And I think that's why people like you. Yeah. And so, and obviously that goes for personality, but also now I think I've struggled with it as far as like how people digest media. Well, they want it to be this fast and they want the edit to be low quality and they don't want high quality anymore. And I think I've still fallen into the trap with changing the way that I do things. And recently I was just like, had to pull myself back and think, just be who you are and create what you want to create. Because then we're all going to look the same. I know. And we're all going to sound the same. And we're all going to make the same content. We're all going to do the same trends. And it just becomes so boring.
Okay, so that's one.
Okay,
I also miss big productions. But I also understand, that people want you to be organic, but I don't think organic always has to mean low quality.
Right. I think there's a way to find balance between understanding, especially if this is a business for you, understanding what performs well, but also understanding to continue to do that in your own font. You know?
I love that. Continue to do that in your own font.
Yeah, like keep yourself in it. Don't get lost in all the other stuff. Okay, another one is always make sure that you have someone read over your contracts. Because that is a mistake that I feel a lot of creators have made, and we've all done it. And I think it's so important to kind of just make sure that you're doing that. And also, don't be afraid to negotiate for yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for more, because the first offer that someone gives you is never the final offer. And you have to know that. And I know that as a new creator in the space, you're afraid to ask for more because you think they'll walk away. But I promise you, every other person is asking for more. Everyone is negotiating, and you should negotiate. Don't ever receive the first offer that's given to you. I think that's another huge piece of advice.
Love that. And the third?
My last piece of advice is, I'm trying not to give anything that's too generic, because I know a lot of people say the same thing, like be consistent. And here's a good one. Always do what's true to you and at the end of the day, what's going to make you feel good about yourself. I think a lot of times we're afraid to speak up on our opinions or on important topics. And I think this is something I struggled with for a while. But then you start to feel like a shitty person, because if you're not doing what's in your heart and saying what's in your heart, the only person that's going to weigh on is you. And so if you feel like you want to say something or stand for something, then do that.
I think a lot of people are scared because of the backlash that you could get from it. But do you want, I don't know, 10,000 followers that actually like you and believe and by what you stand, or 10,000 followers that are just looking to see your eye tutorial or your fashion video and don't really care about the human in you?
Right. And I get it. I get the being scared situation too. But if it's something that, like, for me, if it's something that's going to eat away at me, I just told my husband, I'm like, at the end of the day, like, if I'm happy with myself, then that's all that matters. Like, I can't just not say what's on my mind because of fear, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Now, what's a belief you had at the beginning of your career that you've completely outgrown now?
Everything just had to be perfect.
Yeah.
That was something I believed so strongly. Everything has to be perfect. But now I just feel like I just have to be exactly how I am in life.
I saw recently you posted, you were in the car and you were talking about how sometimes you look back at yourself and you feel like you're not funny anymore, and you're not this anymore, and you're not that anymore.
That's true.
Do you miss that version of yourself, of like when you were getting started, and like what would you say to her now?
I miss that version of myself because she was so unapologetically fearless and herself. And that actually really was a sad realization for me when somebody was like, oh, I followed you because you were so funny. And I think 13 years of being online, what happens over time and why a lot of creators that you love start to like kind of curl back into themselves is because, unfortunately, there's so much criticism that comes with being online. And it could be something as little as, like, when I first started YouTube, people would tell me I had shark teeth. And they said it looked like I chewed rocks. And my comments, and I never, ever, ever had a problem with my smile. I never thought anything about my smile. I had 2 crooked teeth right here that like kind of overlapped. And never in my life did I ever think twice about my teeth. Like, my smile was my favorite thing about me. And I immediately went and got those 2 crooked teeth fixed because I was so hurt by the comments. And I think those kinds of instances, time and time over the years, people criticizing everything you say, people demonizing something that you obviously didn't mean in a bad way, it starts to make you feel like you can say less and less, and you can do less and less, and you can't be yourself anymore because
you're under a microscope.
Subconsciously, when I post something now, I think, is this going to be taken the wrong way? Are people not going to get this? It's like, whereas before, I would just be myself. And that's the one thing that has made me sad, is that I look back at that version of myself and I'm like, wow, I love her and I wish I could be her, but I don't know if the internet will let me be her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel like a part of transitioning into wife, motherhood, business owner has also taken any shift into that?
I think so, because I think now after having kids, I have so much more anxiety. I know that's like a lot of times mothers say that. It comes with having children. I had so much anxiety postpartum, and it kind of just stayed with me. So I've just become a little bit more reserved in that sense.
Obviously, you said that you were reserved online, but how do you feel you navigate fear and passion when you have such high stakes now?
Well, I honestly think that nothing worth doing isn't going to have both of those 2 things.
Yeah.
I think you need fear and you need passion in order to do anything worthwhile. I tell my team all the time, we'll start something that's about to be really big or like a project, and we're all like scared shitless about it because it's something major. And I said, okay, are we all freaking out? And they'll be like, yeah. And I said, okay, this is good. That means we're growing. That means we're doing something bigger than us, because you cannot grow in the same place that you've been. You have to like be able to do that. And I think fear keeps you cautious, it keeps you growing, but passion keeps you going. Like, you can't quit.
I used to be a creative director in the music industry, and I used to always
You've had many lives.
I have.
I've had many lives.
And there was this artist, she was top 16, she had #1 song with the Chainsmokers, we were touring with her.
Yeah.
And I remember that she was like, I can't figure out how to let go of these nerves. And I said, you're nervous because you care. And the moment that you stop being nervous is when you should be worried.
Right.
And I remember that she looked at me and she was like, nervous because I care. She was like, wow, that makes sense. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
She would like run off on stage.
Honestly, it's like once you realize that, it becomes so liberating because I'm like, if I'm not scared, I'm not doing anything worthwhile. Like you have to be scared.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Just don't let it debilitate you or freeze you.
Well, I think that's why you have to tell yourself things like that because then it helps you like get past it.
How to like navigate through it. Now, when it comes to your identity off camera and your career from makeup tutorials to launching full brands, do you see any parallels in motherhood in this?
Oh my gosh, yes. I have no control over anything.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
It is that. It's 2020 was really difficult. Like obviously for pandemic reasons, but also coming out of it, so much changed in my life all at once. Like I came out of it a mother and a founder, and like the whole world around us changed completely. And I feel like navigating that was really difficult for me. Obviously, I was a first-time mom, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out as I go, and that's the same thing with running a business. I started this with just very little business knowledge. I knew the social side of things, the creative side of things. Up until then, I had no risk. When I did collaborations or worked with brands, it was all reward and it was all creative and it was all fun. But then when you have to learn the business side, it's just so much more than that. And I don't think anyone could prepare me for both motherhood being as hard as it is and being a founder being as hard as it is. It is so much harder, and you can't really explain it to someone unless you're living it. And both of those things are true in both of those categories. So they are two major life-shifting things, and I've found it was hard to kind of navigate that, but you know, it's resilience really comes when you're navigating and doing something, even if you're not 100% sure how to do it, but you're brave enough to keep trying and keep figuring it out. And I think that's true for both.
When you were deciding to walk away from the brand and create your own, were you already a mom then?
No.
Okay, so question, has the legacy that you wanted to create when you were making that step shifted from then to now, having 2 kids?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, my legacy, like for me, is my kids is if I'm a good mom to them. What I do and for a living, like, because they may not want to do that. They may not want anything to do with that. I do enjoy that they get to see me be in this position because I loved watching my mom be a hard worker, and I thought, and I don't forget those moments, you know, and I think that's important. But at the end of the day, for them, I just want them to think that I'm a great mom. That's it.
That's amazing. What did your mom do? Was your mom in the same industry?
My mom actually worked in housekeeping.
Oh, okay.
My whole life, but she worked hard. Like she would leave early morning, come back late night, and I just, you know, I always admired what a hard worker she was.
Do you feel like that's where you got your passion and dedication to your
My
work?
mom, I get so much from my mom. My creative side is definitely from her. I always say my mom can turn trash into treasure in 2 seconds.
I mean, we see her outfits.
Her outfits. Okay,
Her outfits
half
are
the
great.
things. My mom thrifts a lot, so she thrifts outfits and she can make them look like the most high-end designer things. I could ask her, oh my God, I have a baby shower, like I forgot to make a gift basket, and she'll go outside and forage some sticks, girl, and she'll like make a basket and put leaves and flowers and make the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And I learned that from her, and I think that's how I was able to be so resourceful all my life and make something out of nothing is because of how I watched her do that.
That's beautiful. And now when you were going through postpartum, do you feel like the self-discovery that you had then has continued on in reinventing and discovering who this new version of you was going to turn into as you evolved?
Postpartum is just so foggy.
Yeah.
I feel like postpartum is such a fake time in your life, like because it's not reality to me. It's this place where you're not who you don't know yourself. Like this, at least this is for me. I didn't know who I was. I was struggling with like falling behind in my career at that moment, or, you know, just looking at my body and being like, who is that? Like, whose body does this belong to? Especially the first baby. Second baby, I understood what was happening. So I was like, oh, okay, I know what this is.
Kinder to yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I was super kind to myself. But the first time it was like, and I am grateful for the time that I did have a baby, because I feel like that was a really slow time and I was able to kind of just be in the moment and not worry so much about those things. But I can't really compare postpartum to anything else in my life, because I don't feel like it was a time where I was myself, like, at all.
When do you think you started feeling like yourself?
After a year,
Okay.
like a year and a half, I felt like myself. I think a year is a good marker to where you start feeling good again.
Okay.
And like, and this is obviously it's different for everybody, but a year is a good marker. And then I was afraid to start feeling too much like myself, so then I got knocked up again. I was like, let me finish this and have my babies, and then just like then come back to myself, because it is a really hard time. And I just was like, I don't want to become myself again and then get lost all over again. Let me just have another kid. And so I did.
And what's the difference between creator Desi and founder Desi?
Well, there's a lot of things that intertwine with creator Desi and founder Desi, because I'm still very much a creator. But I think the biggest difference is that I pour a lot of my creation into my brands. And so people see it through my brands now, opposed to seeing it as much through me. And I will say that I mourn creator Desi, because she was selfish with her time. She didn't have to worry about anything or anyone. It was just fun and creating for fun. And obviously when it becomes your job, it's a little bit different, because you don't just think about the fun, you also think about, is this going to translate? Is it going to be successful? And there's like kind of like strings attached, right? So I do miss creator Desi, because me and my brother, who's my creative director, and my photographer, we would just get together and be like, what do we want to film? Let's film some cool shit. And it was so fun, and that was it. It was pure. It was just fun. It was just to create. And so, yeah, I kind of mourn that. And I do miss making makeup tutorials.
I mean, I think everyone at this point is waiting for the reunion that has been stated by a handful of people, and even a whole flying out. And she didn't fly out, but like it was funny the timeline happened. She was like, I'm here in LA to also make it happen.
So with this new studio that we have, we set up our YouTube station there, and I was like, oh my God, I think I want to start YouTube again.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I'm afraid that and this is the thing, I'm afraid that if I start something I can't fully commit to, I'll let people down. And I don't want to just like pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out. But maybe that's better than nothing, because I do really want to create videos. Yeah. I sat in that YouTube like station and I just felt so good. I was like, I would love to film a tutorial right now.
Maybe like once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month, so you're not like super. And if you are able to knock 2 videos out in one day, now you have next month up.
Yeah. See?
You know?
Maybe I should do that. No, I do miss it. I do want to be that again.
Now, what has working with Steven taught you about love, business, and boundaries? Because I've worked with a partner in the past, and it was great. But I also think that we've had another couple here on the show before, and they talked about, you know, needing to find a balance and all that stuff when working together.
When Steven and I first started working together, it was not good. I mean, Steven's watching me right now. I think the important thing is to find a job. Like, your partner can't be doing something they don't want to be doing. You know what I mean? Or that's not their passion. And you don't want to force your partner just because they're your husband to do something that's not something they're passionate about. And I think when it was more so like him taking my pictures, like he's great at video, loves video, but pictures, you know, we would argue and I'd be like, why are you making me look so ugly? Like, what? And I know everyone out there can relate to this.
Yes,
sometimes
he wasn't an Instagram boyfriend yet.
Yeah, sometimes you'd be asking your man to take a picture and you're like, what?
Is that how I look?
And it was just so unnecessary at the time to have these little like bickering moments. And I think when our relationship really thrived is like now where we have the best balance is when we started the businesses, because Steven does so much behind the scenes that nobody knows, but he's the one that's like, you know, doing all of these business calls and like really handling the things that that I don't want to be handling. And so he helps so much, and he's such a huge part of the businesses. He works so hard now, and that's something that he thrives in. And so because he's thriving in that and I'm thriving, I'm able to thrive in what I want to thrive in. And it makes us the perfect partners. And now we made boundaries where we are not allowed to talk about work after 5.
I love that.
So after 5, if it's not like a crazy emergency, you bring it up tomorrow. And that allows us to have dinner normally, have regular conversations, not about work. We'll never talk about work outside of that. And we also don't work on weekends unless, again, there's obviously moments where we have to, but it's very rare. We schedule our lives to make sure that weekends belong to our family and to our kids, and we spend time with them because we work so hard during the week, and I know they see that and they feel that we're working so much. So the weekends we dedicate completely to just family time, and that's helped us so much, and it just gives us as much balance as we could have, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Now, you've achieved so many goals and so many dreams. Is there a dream that you still haven't achieved yet?
Selling my companies?
Yes, girl.
Let me get that billion
I can't
real
wait.
quick.
I can't wait for the BFA post. Desi Skin, Desi Eyewear sells for
$1 billion.
$3.5 billion.
I'll take 3.5 bill. I'll take
the
3.5.
other big one
Okay.
that just came out, you know?
Oh, right. You got to shoot higher.
You got to shoot higher than the recent release. So.
Yeah, no, I think that would be, I mean, that's obviously
Goals.
what I think everyone wants.
Yeah.
But that would be amazing. And then I could, move to a big piece of land, a little compound with my family, and like have
You think you'd move from your current house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love my house.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I won't move because I have so much
Like
sentimental.
you're building the whole garden in the backyard.
No, I have so much emotional attachment. I don't know. But I talk about one day having like a little compound with my family and everybody living on it and having a garden there, and then just like selling our fruit at the farmer's market, Perkins produce on the weekends, and that's my life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Would you still stay in California?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's up in the air. I used to think I'd always stay here, but I don't know now.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, now what brings you joy right now when no one is watching and nothing is being posted?
My garden. But even though I do
she
post,
was gonna say
I
that.
know,
I literally said it last night. I was like, she's gonna say her garden.
my garden, just moments with my kids, like just the boring moments that other people wouldn't find interesting, but I do. Like, I think it's true. The more success you get, the more that you start to accumulate, the more you value, like, and actually the more you age, like you just start to value different things, which is like, to me, the biggest thing I value is just time and like family and moments with my kids, the garden. It's just those small things, going to the garden center. I mean, if Steven tells me like, do you want to go to the garden center today? I'm like, yeah, that's sexy. Love that.
What actually is something that you do when you get stuck creatively or emotionally? Where do you go? What do you need to do? What do you surround yourself around? Is it I'm guessing one of the things is your garden.
I do a lot of, when I don't want to think about anything, I go into my garden, and I think that's what helps me. Steven was laughing because the other day, well, he wasn't laughing, it wasn't funny, but being outside really helps me. And I was in my kid's sandbox, and I was picking up every single individual leaf that has blown into this sandbox, and it was a lot. And Steven comes into the sandbox, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then all of a sudden, I just like started crying because things didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go for something. And I was feeling like a failure. And I think as entrepreneurs, we all have those moments where no matter how successful your business is, you have these moments where you're like, what is it all for? Like, this is so hard. And like, I have so much pressure because I employ my family and I take care of my family, and it's just this constant pressure to succeed and be the best at everything. And when it's not, you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
And I just sat there outside, and I needed to do something like off my phone and just be in there doing something that didn't even make sense, taking all these leaves out. But after we sat there for a while, like, I was able to reflect and really think about failure and how it's necessary and everything in life in order to appreciate anything good. And I was able to like get up and just dust myself off, literally, and move on and just think like, okay, what's next, and how can I be better next time,
You know what I learned in therapy a long time ago? I suffer from anxiety really bad, and I love cleaning when I'm anxious.
Oh.
So in reference to your leave, it could have been a sign of your brain feeling really scattered and emotions over heightened.
Yeah.
And the only way to organize it is to physically organize something in front of you. So now I always catch myself when I'm doing something like very hyperactive that is so detailed in organization. I'm like, okay, you're calming your thoughts. It's okay. And now I'm able to associate it. But before I was like, why do I clean so much? And I'm like, oh, it's like an anxious mechanism that I do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I clean when I'm angry. So
Yeah.
if you, like, I'll be scrubbing everything. Every single inch of the wall.
He'll walk in, the house is spotless.
But no, that makes
scary.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
I just needed to feel, it's like you gain a sense of control over something that you didn't have control over.
Yep. Yeah. So now, what is something that people often get wrong about you? And at this point, you're okay with letting them?
I think this narrative that really hurts my feelings is like a mean girl narrative and I never actually talked about it like publicly, but it does, like, I've seen that before, and I don't believe that that is like true about me. And I think it has something to do with like an intimidating presence also. People have told me I have a very intimidating presence, and I want so badly not to be intimidating to people. So I've really worked hard on making conscious efforts to just like maybe, making sure I'm the first person to say hi to someone, or like trying my best to make, so people can put their guard down, because I'm not those things. And like, I want people to feel comfortable around me. And my mom has a really intimidating presence. My dad has an intimidating presence. My brother too. We all kind of like, people think my brother is like scary and he's a teddy bear, but his presence is just like a little intimidating. And it's a weird balance, because I also believe that you shouldn't have to dull yourself down or change yourself, because I do love to empower women, and I love strong women, and I love them to feel so confident in themselves. You also shouldn't have to worry about, someone else's feelings towards you, but it is something that I try to find balance with.
I will say, I think I was really nervous to meet you. And I remember when I met you was the Fenty Foundation event, the Soft Light Foundation. And you had randomly followed me on TikTok like a few weeks prior. And I was like, how the hell did she find me? Like, this is so random. But I was like, okay. So then I saw you and I was like, okay, I'm going to go up to her. And you were with Sonia. And I love Sonia.
Yeah.
So we actually talked about, on the episode that she was on, we had like a whole, oh my God, we sound like Desi's fan club over here. But no, I remember I saw Sonia and I was like, okay. And I didn't even have the chance to think anything, because the moment you locked eyes with me, you went, hi. And I was like, okay, yay.
Yeah.
And it's just like nice, because I think that for me, it wasn't that I had a bad impression of you at all. It was more, oh, wow, she's Desi. And a lot of the times in the creator space specifically, or any space that you see like people that are in different levels, you don't know if the numbers have gotten to them.
Right.
You don't know if they deem you of value, which has happened in the past to me personally, of they deem me of value if I have a check on, or if I have a K next to my number, or an M next to my number, or, who did I walk in with? And I think for me, I was walking by myself and I was just like, I'm going to go strut and tell her. And I appreciated it, because it just showed your genuineness, and through you've shown that. So, I mean, my word may not have any weight. It might.
I mean, it does to me.
Yeah, she's not a mean girl, guys. I promise you.
It does to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, when I see that narrative, it just like, I kind of try to dissect it, and like, by no means am I perfect. Have I made all the most perfect decisions in my career? No, like I haven't. I've made mistakes, and everyone makes mistakes. But I've never intentionally like tried to be mean at all. So it just, it's something that just kind of makes me feel bad, because I'm like, I don't think that that's who I am. And that's the one thing that I wish people, and I'm not saying everyone thinks that way, but like I've seen some stuff. And I
think also it's not that everybody needs to be best friends. It just comes down to, like, I do feel like the appearance of a strong woman at times is misunderstood and mistitled, because I've gotten it a handful of times too. And I'm like, I'm the sweetest person. Just get to know me.
Right.
But yeah.
And
so
I'm also like, I learned about transference in therapy. And a lot of times, this is interesting, okay, because I went to this retreat. Well, it's like a therapy retreat, but it's called Hoffman.
Okay.
And it was one of the best things I ever did for myself. It was around the time when I was going through infertility, and I was at such a low point that I felt like so lost that I didn't know what to do. And at that point, I'd never gone to therapy before. And one of my friends had gone to Hoffman, and actually my husband went years before that, but I never thought anything of it because at the time I didn't need it. And my friend came back and I saw this like glow in her, and I was like, oh my gosh. I signed up that night. I didn't even know what I was signing up for. I didn't even look into it. I was just like, I'm going.
How many days was it?
7 days.
Okay.
It was actually 5 days of intense therapy, no phones, no nothing. Like I can't talk to anyone outside. Like it was really intense therapy, and it's all stemming from, it focuses on your childhood and patterns that are passed down, generational patterns, why you are the way you are, why you might react to things the way you may react. And transference is one of the things we learned about. Transference is basically like, it's kind of like an impression you have on somebody based on your own life experiences. So if you knew someone like me and they were mean to you, or they made you feel some type of way, or their confidence, was actually a mean girl, then they can maybe look at you, and because of their life experiences, they will have that transference towards you.
Yeah, they automatically define it as that.
Right. And interestingly enough, there's an exercise that's really uncomfortable that you do there, where you have to go up to 2 people in the therapy, because it's like huge group work, and you have to tell them what they made you feel transference wise.
Oh, wow.
And you have to stand there and accept their transference. And it's really difficult, because one girl told me, she came up to me and she said, when I saw you, I thought my transference towards you was that you were like the popular girl in high school that, that I've experienced, that like I wasn't cool enough to hang out with, or wasn't like someone that would want to talk to me. And it just made me feel really small around you. And like, she's obviously, but then she goes, but then when I got to know you, obviously that was not the case at all. But to hear those things, it's interesting, because that's what I think something I've struggled, with. And so it did make me sad, but it is cool to see what people will think about you. Like I had to do it to other people, and it was wild. It was, but it was the best thing I ever did in my life. And it really taught me to have compassion for everyone. And like, I can now be aware of my own personal patterns when they're happening. And so I've changed a lot since then, I think.
I love that. We love therapy here. I say it all the time. I've gone to a trauma center before when I went through my divorce, and it was a similar thing, but mine was a month and a half. And it was no phones, no sugars, no caffeine.
Like you had to stay there?
Yeah, I stayed there
for
a
month and a half.
There's people that were there for 6 months, depending on their trauma. There was women from 18 to 62. Wow. There was a woman that she had lost her husband, and she went into deep depression after 47 years of being married to him, didn't know how to do life without him. There was a woman that had just done a stillborn. There was a girl that was suicidal, but on substances, not physically.
Yeah.
Because anything physical or eating disorder they couldn't take, because they couldn't lock refrigerators, and they couldn't take away like, I don't know, the knives and stuff like that. But it was an amazing experience, a month and a half, and you had to wake up at 6 a.m., go to sleep at 10 p.m., no sugars, no caffeine, no phone. Until week 3, you got to do 1 call. In a month, you were able to get a family visit. But it was the best experience. It just shifts your brain and your mind to truly be able to see clearer.
Right. Isn't it kind of hard after to even get your phone back? Like, I didn't want my phone back. When they tried to give it to me, I was like, I had one of my friends that I made there turn off all my notifications, because I was like not ready for the outside world. And just, but yeah, it helps me deal with a lot of my trauma that I've had and things that have happened in my life, and just have compassion for, my parents and other people. And now I feel like I've almost become too soft. I kind of miss my edge a little bit. Like
I'm sure she's in
before,
there.
I used to pop off, and now I'm just like,
I have awareness.
Now I'm so docile. Yeah. I'm just like, but there are moments where I'm like, ooh, old Desi, I was very reactive back in the day.
So was I. I don't know if I don't want to say it's a Latina thing, because I feel like we're spicy, but it's more of like, I think it comes from me of being minimized when I was younger in my emotions. So then I just felt like I needed to beat you to the punch.
Right.
And then now I'm just so aware of how reactive I was of trying to prove a point, trying to be understood all the time.
Right.
That I just keep telling myself, like, you know the truth. If you can't communicate calmly, like, you have to be able to process this better. And I think it's just like cool to see how I used to be funny.
I used to be funny too. And see, I'm not funny anymore because I'm not reactive. I'm not like, yeah, this all happened right before I remember it was right before I got the egg retrieval for my IVF treatment. I had gotten it and then went straight to Hoffman. And I'm so happy I did it before kids because I'm so aware of all the patterns that I don't love about myself that I can work on, or because I don't want to pass those on to my kids. You know, I want them to be better than I was, and I think everyone wants that as a parent. And so, yeah, it's really something that I appreciate that I went to, but the transference thing is real. And so sometimes when you meet someone and you have these presumptions about them, it could just be transference because you've had of things you've experienced in your personal life.
They also say if somebody triggers you, it's because it's showing a darker side of yourself.
Yeah.
So, all right, now my final question to you is, what does success mean to you now compared to what it meant in the beginning?
Well, there was a creator who actually recently said to me that, you know, it's so beautiful to see that, like, you now have the freedom to create and be a creator, but like the way that you want to be, and not because you have to be, not because you're chasing views or numbers, which I'm not anymore. The things that I post is because I love to post them, and it's things that I'm passionate about, and I'm not focused on numbers as far as like my personal, you know, creation. It's just to create without those feelings really is success to me. And she had mentioned that. She's like, this is what I want my success to be, is that I build something bigger than me and I create because I want to.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because I think that's, for a creator, it's so true. You're not following a brand deck that you have to go by, you know,
Right.
which a lot of the time does quiet part of our voice, or a line sheet, or a deadline, or if you don't feel good today, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful.
But also another success for me, like coming from having nothing and no money, and it's so funny because when I go to the grocery store, there's moments where I think about the things that like Steven and I would buy because it was the cheapest, like the Minute Maid fruit punch, because it was like $1.99 or something. Like I remember it was like $1 something, and it's like that's the juice that we could buy, and this is the things that we could buy. And I still, when I go to the grocery store now, and like knowing that I can buy the groceries that I want to buy, like that's success to me. And like I think about those times every time I see that Minute Maid, that like, you know, the fruit punch one, like that was the one that we would always buy.
The red one?
Yeah, the red one. And like, it just reminds me of those times, and like how grateful I am to be in the position that I am now, to be able to support my family, to be able to have bought my mom a house. Like that's success too. That's something I think about, and I'm just so grateful for that.
I think what's beautiful is being able to redefine success in every different version that you walk into as a woman, because you're walked into success as a business owner, success as a mother, success as a partner, and you're going to continue to do it in different things. Once you get your land, that's a new level of success.
No, my zucchinis are popping off. That's success right there.
The asparagus, I saw the craziness over the asparagus.
And you know what pisses me off about the asparagus is it does grow pretty fast, and then I never end up cooking it. Like it's like if you don't cook it right then and there, the time has passed, and then man.
Wow.
Nobody else cares about my asparagus. Actually, a lot of people care about the asparagus, which is surprising.
I love asparagus. I love a good garlic oven baked with lemon asparagus.
Anything with lemon.
So I hope you guys got to enjoy, got to digest, got some really hidden gems, some never untold moments here. But more than anything, I hope you guys got to know Desi in such a new light, in a really authentic light. I'm so grateful that you were able to take time out of your day to come here and be so open and just share your spirit. And I think that that's what's most beautiful about you. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I don't know if there's anything you want to say.
No, you're amazing. I learned a lot of things about you too. Girl, you've lived many lives.
I have.
So no, I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, make sure you keep watching until next week's episode. Until next time.
Bye.